Hello, Internet. I'm Corion, your witch in residence. And in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. And, brotherhood among Ultramarines, which we're going to talk about. Now, before I dig too deep in, I just wanted to say first, thank you to my subscribers. I know I've been a little flaky lately. It's been kind of crazy here. There's been a lot going on, and I hope at some point I get a chance to discuss it with you all. And in fact, I think I'm going to do a members only live stream soon. If my members can chime in and say when they would like to get it done, we will set it up. But in the meantime, to kind of move forward here, I want to talk about Warhammer 40K. Now, I've played several games of 40K. I enjoy it. I have a Tau army. I have an Ultramarines army. And I know that, were I actually in the Warhammer universe, I would be so many different kinds of dead. It's not even funny. But I do enjoy the setting, and I enjoy the lore around the setting. So when we got a new game, finally, for Space Marine, a game that we've been only waiting for about, over 10 years for, this really hit me with a lot of excitement. I know the Ultramarines catch a lot of slack from Warhammer 40K players because they're just supposedly the bestest ever, and I can't disagree. But I wanted to talk about the story in the game. Now, by now, people have leaked the story a fair bit, and while I will be digging into some spoilerific sections of it, I will try to keep it as light as possible on spoilers. Now, at the end of the first game, our titular Space Marine hero, Captain Titus, had defeated a demon by punching it to death, which, man, let me tell you, would make my job so much easier some days. But anyway, after punching it to death, one of his own brothers accused him of being in league with these demons because the artifact they were trying to protect didn't immediately murder him upon touching it. Yeah. And he wound up going through tremendous suffering because he couldn't trust one of his brothers. And he should have, and he shouldn't have, but he's always been taught that your brothers are there for you. Cut to the new game, and he's very hesitant to let others in. He's afraid of confessing everything that's been going on to his brothers for fear of them rejecting him. And ultimately, they almost do reject him because he didn't give them the information they needed. And I think this is an important piece to keep in mind. It really spoke to me. Because how often have we trusted in people, in our brothers and our sisters, and they've let you down pretty significantly? It's a non-trivial amount. It's probably a fair bit. And the question becomes, well, why should we trust? And that comes across in the game too, because during one of the pivotal scenes where one of the brothers has what I would argue to be a credible position to believe that the now Lieutenant Titus has fallen, the other brother is more concerned with the source and actually resolves it and figures out what's going on. And when the first of Titus's brothers realizes that he's made the mistake and he's listened to the wrong voice, he immediately apologizes and he immediately talks about how he regrets his decision. And Titus is forced to say something to the effect of, in your shoes, I might have made the same call. And after that, everyone gets a lot better with each other. Everybody gets a lot more understanding with each other. And they feel a lot better about each other and as a team because they went through that catharsis. shared tragedy and shared triumph lead to deeper bonds of friendship than anything else in existence. And we've talked about that before. I've talked about it in terms of the American Marine Corps too, where they put their recruits through absolute nightmares as far as they can, because at the end of it, the team emerges understanding that they are a unified force. And you know what? They do that in this too. Okay? They go through their trials and they come out stronger. Now, ultimately, because this is the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, things don't always end on a perfect note. But the point is, we should be trusting in our brothers. But the first part of that is selecting who we can trust and why we need to trust. Now, why do we need to trust each other? At the end of the day, while I love Robert Heinlein and his concept of the competent man, the man that can do just about everything fairly well, we can't. There's too much, okay? I am an IT guy by trade. I am a priest by virtue of my nature. What I am not, though, is a medical doctor. Okay? And hey, I've had some medical issues in the past, and I need to go to an expert, and I need to sit down, and I need to talk to them and explain to them, I need you to put this in terms I'll understand. And this is my background. Maybe that'll help you build analogies that will make sense to me. And I've got a doctor that I can work with as a partner, because we sit down and we go through the diagnostic possibilities. And while I can go through the mechanical side of things, my doctor will stop me and she'll correct me and go, actually, that's what you're saying makes sense from your limited understanding, but there's also these other systems that get involved that screw up what you think. And so I learn, and we both get to use our diagnostic ability to ultimately help me and figure out what the hell's going on. So everybody wins. And because of that, it's a partnership, right? It's, while not directly like a brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever in this case, we grow together by facing adversity and facing the successes from that adversity together. Okay? I need to trust my doctor to know that she knows what she's doing and can walk me through it in a way that I'll understand. Because I'm not just going to blindly trust, but I'm also selecting somebody that I can trust when she says something like, for reasons that are unbelievably complicated, this is what you need to be aware of. And go with it together. And that's just one example of a trust situation, right? We can't know everything. We need diverse people, right? We need occasionally specialists that'll work together with us. Okay? The other piece of that is also, we have a tendency among people that when we become about one specific thing, we have a tendency to have that thing become our identity. And that's bad. Okay? What is bad about it is we are supposed to be a mosaic of all the things that make us together, make us unified. So, for example, I'm not just a witch. I'm not just a priest. I'm not just an IT guy. I'm not just a gaming nerd. I'm a dad. I'm a son to a father with some pretty severe PTSD. I'm the son to a mother that has some pretty intense mental health concerns, right? I have a stepdad who is very, very much a consummate artist that is so into his art that real life has a tendency to take a back seat. And so I have to be a person in their lives to help keep them on track, right? I have a fantastic daughter who has some very unique and very wonderful insights and also some gaps in her understanding of things. And so I got to help her out too. But the point is, I'm all those things at once. I'm not just one of those things. We're not supposed to be a one thing species. We are supposed to be a mosaic, a collection of a whole bunch of little things that we put together to make a beautiful portrait. And because we have that tendency for our specialization to become our identity, it can get very challenging if you don't have people that'll keep you grounded. My wife is fantastic at making sure my ego doesn't get out of check. Okay? And, you know, I appreciate her some days for that. But the point is, we work as a team. Okay? We work as partners. And that is critically important to success. And one of the things that I absolutely love that Space Marine 2 does is it lets you run through the campaign with friends who also own the game. So you can be fighting the alien hordes backed by your brothers and deploy tactics and say, okay, so-and-so, I'm going to advance this way. I would like you to hang back and cover with the sniper rifle while I use my big, ridiculous over-the-top sword to clear and carve a path. And since, our buddy is much better with the machine gun, why doesn't he stay behind me? And as I claw my way through, if something survives, he takes it down. And you watch our backs. And then when we go around the next corner, we'll rotate and I'll be the sniper. And you can rotate through that and everybody gets a chance to shine and everybody gets a chance to watch for each other and cover for each other. And that's what I think makes this game great, is that opportunity. I've gotten to play through some of the sections of the game with friends of mine. And oh man, is it incredible to do, right? And not because I'm doing it because, we're trying to be all macho and badass and everything like that. I mean, it's a video game. That part of it is that. But it's also because we're learning how to work with each other and learning what styles work best. For example, we found out that one of the guys is really good with the shotgun equivalent weapon and a shield. And him just kind of moving forward and trudging along and being that vanguard guy. Well, it turns out I'm really good at aiming in this game and taking out guys who are going to annoy us from range. So we found our specialties, we found our strength. And in doing so, we became closer as a team and started working better. And in those scenes in the game where it does the cutscenes, where it's talking about, we have to work together and we have to be brothers, we started seeing ourselves in those scenes. We started going, yeah, that is what we need to do. We do need to focus up. We do need to follow the voice of experience here. There's a type of enemy that's a specifically flying enemy that rains down fire. And we realized that in fights, we had to assign one of our guys to just deal with that while we kept everything off his back. And the first couple of times it didn't work because the guy who was aiming at the flying thing kept having to switch to a melee weapon to deal with the stuff that was around him. And we eventually said, my man, trust we've got you covered. Focus on the big target. And when we started doing that and we started all gelling together, something wonderful happened. We started realizing how close we were as brothers. And let me tell you, man, when that happens, when you have those moments, they're incredible. And when you get to places where you start going into other games and going, You know what? You're the better driver, so you go handle this section, and we'll back you up, right? You know, one of the guys will ride shotgun, and one of the other guys will ride, in the back of the vehicle, being the tail gunner or whatever. When you realize these things, and you realize where each other's strategies and tactics best lay, it's something special. And it's something that you don't always see unless you're willing to open yourself up and be just a little bit vulnerable. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. I've had pickup games where the team just wouldn't gel. And we said, you know what? This isn't going to work. We'll move on. And there have been other games where, we've been trying to run cargo and just the wrong person was running the cargo ship, right? There are limitations to it. And part of being a brother is also being able to call everybody on their stuff that they're not doing right and not have it be hard feelings, right? Like if I say to, one of the guys that I game with and say like, dude, you got to stop stealing the vehicle here. You're not suited to piloting it, but Chuck is. Chuck will drive, you gun, I'll sit in the back and tail gun. That's an important thing to be able to say too. All right, brothers are honest with each other. And it takes time for everybody to develop a way to communicate with each other that everyone is going to take. Not everyone responds best to, God, you suck, right? Sometimes you have to say, look, man, I get that you want to do this, but for the sake of the team, let's do it a little bit differently and we'll pull through. And then we can maybe sit you down with the guy who's doing it really well and he can explain how to do better at it so that you can be that guy. Okay? That's a reasonable position to be in. But it needs to be communicated well, and it needs to be communicated in a way that is still comforting. And yeah, guys bust each other's chops all the time, right? If you don't think Petey and I haven't taken, a couple of shots at each other routinely because it's fun, I mean, no, we absolutely do. But Petey knows that he can make those jokes with me, and I'll take it in stride. And I know I can make those jokes with him, and he'll take it in stride, and we both laugh about it later. But it took us a little while to get there. It took a couple of times of us getting to know each other and realizing what chops we could bust and what other stuff has to be done with a little bit of care. And that's important. Same goes with Pollo Zapatos and myself. We took a little while to get to know each other. And I mean, in the last Rogue Council, he did an awful lot of research, and he was like, no, this numbers game, this is my jam. Let me do this. And I went, sure, let's see what you got. And man, did he come through in a clutch like that. And conversely, I put together some ideas for the Rogue Council shows, and he goes, I never thought of that. Let me go dig into it a little bit. And then he goes, wow, this is cool as hell. And we have that relationship where we can help each other discover new things and learn and grow from each other. And that takes time too. It takes time to know what everyone's strengths are and what you can rely on to provide those strengths for another person. But when you do, it's amazing. Okay? And it's worth it. I'm going to say this. Not many people would do this. But the thing that makes Warhammer Space Marine 2 so good is the same thing that actually makes the Lego movie good. And that's everything is awesome when you're part of a team. And it's really true. Everything does come together really well when you're part of a team that wants to work together, that accepts that every member of the team has their strengths and their limitations. And the best part of teamwork is figuring out where to best apply everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses and work as a group and band together for a common good. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. This one ran a little long, I think because we had some good stories in it. As I've said to my channel members, this is an official announcement. I want to call a meeting of the channel members to hang out and do a live stream where you guys are welcome to come on and chat, and we'll talk back and forth. It'll be me on camera. You guys, if you want to be on camera, And any direct questions you want to ask or anything you just want to do, let me know dates and times, because I think this could be a lot of fun. Until then, everybody, merry meet, merry part, merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.